Hello friends, welcome back to OK Java. Guys, in this video we'll talk about REST API versioning. I'm going to explain all about API versioning with the coding demo. Alright guys, so today we are going to cover what is API versioning or versioning means. Then we'll see what exactly breaking versus non-breaking changes in API. Then we'll talk about types of API versioning, and then finally we'll do the code. Alright guys, so that being said, let's begin the video. Alright guys, now if you look at these two pictures, you will come to know what exactly versioning means. So if you see this picture, V1 is the basic model of this aircraft and V2 is more advanced, right? So this is the very basic sense of versioning. When there is major change, we have to come up with a new version. Alright guys. Similarly, if we are coming up with a new version of an existing API, it's called API versioning. Alright guys. Now guys, let's see what are the different types of the API versioning that we can have. Alright, very first one is URI versioning. So if you look at this example, the first endpoint has v1/person. So basically this will bring the list of all the persons, right? But for the next version, we can simply change the endpoint. It's pointing to v2. So it's called URI versioning. Basically we are having two different endpoints. One endpoint pointing to the v1 version, one endpoint pointing to the v2 version. Okay. Next one is request param. So if you look at this particular endpoint, what exactly we are doing here is that we are passing a parameter version equals to 1 and version equals to 2. In case if you have to come up with the next version, we'll do same thing only. We'll have our endpoint and then the next value version equals to 3, right? So basically we are using a request param. Okay. Next approach is versioning using custom request header. So guys, what exactly we do here is we use a custom property in the request header. For example, the property name is x-api-version equals to, and then we pass the version number. For release 1, we'll pass v1. For version 2, we can pass just value 2 here. For version 3, we can pass x-api-version equals to 3. Okay. So basically, we are using a custom property into the request header. Alright guys. Next approach is versioning using accept header. So guys, in the request accept header, we'll be using accept header to mention the version of the API that we are going to use. Right guys. So URI versioning, the very first approach is being used by Twitter. Request param, second approach is being used by Amazon. Versioning using custom request header is being used by Microsoft. And the last approach, versioning using accept header, is being used by GitHub. So guys, in this video I will explain each approach and I will give an example of each one. Alright guys. Now guys, the very first question is, when should we create a new version? Alright guys, now if you look at this image, what do we have? We have got iPhone SE, then we have got iPhone X, then we have got iPhone 11, then we have got iPhone 12. We do have iPhone 13 at the moment, and we are going to have iPhone 14 in the next month. Right guys. So basically point is, whenever there is a major change in the device, Apple comes up with a new version, right? So this is the most easiest example guys, which you can see here. So whenever there is a big change or a major change in the device, they come up with a new version. Same approach we apply in API as well. Whenever we see, okay, there is going to be a major change in the API, we'll come up with a new version. Alright guys. Now guys, let me explain one of the very important concept called breaking change. Let me give you an example guys. Say for example, you have got one API. So this is your endpoint and you have 10 clients consuming your API. At one point of time, say you want to upgrade your API, you make some change in your API, and if that particular change forces your clients to make code change, it's called breaking change. Now there could be various reasons for breaking change. For example, if you change in the format of the response data, it's a breaking change because now there is a change in the format of the response. Second possibility, if you change in the request or response type, for example, if you change any attribute from integer to float, in that case it's considered as breaking change because your client won't be able to consume that value, right? Next reason, if you remove any part of the existing API, then it's called breaking change. Alright guys. So let's first talk about URI versioning. So guys, URI versioning, as you can see, this is the easiest way or easiest approach to create a new version of the existing API. Alright guys, it's time for a code. So I'm going to start STS. Okay guys, so let's go and create a new project here. Spring Starter project. I'll call it as API REST API versioning. Click on next and select Spring Web. Next and click on finish. Alright guys, our project is ready. Now we'll go and create package. First for controller. Let's go and create another package for model, and next we'll create one package for service, and the last one is our DAO package. Okay guys, let's go and create a controller first. Let's call it person controller. Okay, let's make it REST controller. Now guys, let's go and create a model class. So here, say for example, for version 1 I'm calling it as person v1. Okay, and guys, here I'm just going to have only one property, private string name. Okay, I will just create getter status and parameterized constructor. Save. Okay guys, in service I'm going to create the service class. Let's call it person service. Simple, right? Let me use this service annotation. Alright guys, I'm not going to make use of the DAO at the moment, just to save the time. Alright guys, but if you want, you can use the DAO package. You can create a repository class here and you can make use of the database. Alright guys, now let's go to the controller. Guys, what I want, first of all, let's go here and let me use the person service. I want to inject the dependency here at the rate auto void. Let's go and import person service from our service package. Alright guys, now we'll talk about the URI versioning. So what I will do, first of all, let me just go and create a very basic function to pull the list of person. Okay, so what I will do here, I will use list of person of type v1, and let's call it URI versioning. Okay, you guys should give it a better name, but just for understanding, I'm calling it URI versioning so that you remember this is the approach which we are talking about at the moment. Okay guys, now what I will do here, in service dot get all say v1, let's go and create this particular function. Okay, let me just add one list here, private list of person v1. Let's call it list v1. Okay, and now what I will do here, guys, I will simply add some element to our list v1. If you want, you can pull the data from the database, but for me, I just want to make it simple, right? This particular program. Of, and here I will use new person, and let's call it, first name is Priyanka Chopra. Okay, second is, let's call it Deepika Padukone. I can have one more person here, Aishwarya Roy. I think enough, right? Enough for now. So basically what I did, I pre-populated the list here, and now I'm going to return this list here. Alright guys, simple. Now let's go back to our controller class. So what exactly we are doing here is, I'm going to add a get mapping, and here I have to mention the API. Say API, I want to mention that this is the version 1. Simple guys. Now let's give it a try. Let's see how it works. Guys, I will be using Postman to test all our endpoints. Okay, so our endpoint is http://localhost:80/API/v1/person, right? Let's click on send. What do you see? We have got the list of all the persons from our list, right? So this is our version 1. It's working perfectly fine. Alright guys, so this is the version 1. Now guys, say in case we have to create version 2. So version 2 when can we have? Whenever there is a major change, breaking change. Okay. So what I will do in our model class, I am going to create a new person class. Let's call it V2. Okay. Guys, here in this class, let me open this one. I will just clean everything. We are going to have a property. So basically here we are going to have two properties now. A string. Okay. Let's go and create the getter setters and parameterized constructor. Save. Okay, cool. Now guys, let's go to our controller class. Now what I will do, I will create another function. Say for example, this is our, now guys, here we are talking about the version 2 of our API. So our endpoint would look something like this: http://localhost:8080/API/v2/person. Okay guys, so public list. Now this time my list will have v2 type of the person. Okay, and here we are talking about URI versioning v2. Okay guys, let me just import person v2 class, and I will return service dot get all v2. So I will be creating this function in a moment. Okay, now guys, here I will do same thing, only I'm going to introduce one more list here: private list of type person v2 list v2. Okay guys, I'll take this v2 here equals to new array list of type person v2, and then here what I will do, I will use list dot of, and let me create some new persons v2. Say for example, this time I will have Priyanka. So this is the first name, and then last name is going to be Chopra. Second value is new person v2, say Deepika, and then last name is Padukone. We can have new person v2, and this time I'm going to have one called Rashi Khanna, right? Let's go and add one more actress here, person v2, let's call it Rashmika Mandana. Okay, Rashmika Mandana. So we have got 5 persons in our list v2. Simple. Let's go back to the controller, and we have to add the get mapping. Add the rate get mapping. Guys, our endpoint /API/v2. Guys, you have to pay attention. There is a change in the endpoint. Here I'm using v2. Here we have used v1. Okay, I'll simply stop and run our application to the Postman new, and our endpoint http:// I will use this one, and I will change it to v2. Okay. So I'm going to hit our v2 endpoint. So guys, what do you see? Here is our new list of persons having first name and last name. So guys, in our version 1 we had only one property called name, right? Here also we're getting list only, but with the one property only. But in the version 2 we have got two properties. Alright guys, so this is what API versioning is. Alright guys, now let's look at the second approach. It's called request parameter versioning. So guys, if you see, this is our endpoint, and in the endpoint we are passing a parameter called version equals to 1, version equals to 2, right? So we are passing a request parameter in the endpoint. Alright guys, I hope this is clear. Amazon is using request parameter versioning approach, guys. Alright guys, it's time for a code. So let's go back to the IDE. Approach 2. Okay guys, what I will do, just to save time, I will just copy paste this particular function API/version. Let's call it request param v1 path. You can use path or value, does not make any big difference, same thing only. And guys, here params equals to, you have to pay attention, I'm passing version equals to 1 here. Alright guys, and I'm calling the existing function get all v1. Right guys, similarly for version v2, what I will do, so my endpoint will remain same, value. So guys, you see here I've used path, here I'm using value, same thing only, equals to, say, version equals to 2. Okay, and let's call it request param v2. Alright guys, very simple thing. What we did, now we have changed our approach. Here we are passing request parameter called version, S ION, version equals to 1, and here is version equals to 2. I will stop our application and let me just restart. Let's go to Postman guys. New endpoint http / localhost 8080/API/person. Now guys, here I can pass the parameter version equals to 1. Okay, let me hit the send button. What do you see? We have got our version 1 list having Priyanka Chopra, Deepika Padukone, Aishwarya Rai. Okay, now guys, for version v2, what we'll do, http / localhost 8080/API/person. So guys, if you see, our endpoint is same. What we are changing, we are passing the value version equals to 2. Click on sign. What do you see here? We have got our version v2 list. Alright guys, having 2 attributes, first name and last name. Simple. I hope I'm making some sense guys. So this is the second approach. Guys, next approach is custom request header. So what exactly we do here is, our endpoint will remain same, but in the request header we'll pass a custom property. So for example, we'll pass X API version, and then this particular property will have a value, say 1, 2 and 3 depending on your version. Okay, alright guys, Microsoft is using custom request header approach for API versioning. Alright guys, okay guys, it's time for a code. So let's go back to the IDE. Guys, here we are talking about the approach 3, custom request header. Okay, so guys, what I will do, I'll simply copy this one from here just to save some time. Okay, so here in headers, what I will do, I'll pass a custom property. Let's call it X API dash version equals to 1. Okay, and here I will change it to request header v1. Alright guys, so our endpoint would look something like this, http localhost 8080/API/person, and then we'll pass this particular property into the request header. Alright guys, and for version v2, let me just copy paste this here as well. Here also I will be passing the headers, and the value is going to be X dash API dash. Okay, I will change this to request header v2. All clear? Save, stop our application, and let's restart. Okay, let's go to Postman. Let's go and create a new http / localhost 8080/API/person. Now guys, here we are making use of something called request header, right? So we'll go to headers tab here. Here we'll pass a key, new key. Let's call it, we are calling it X API dash version. Okay, and here is the value version 1. Okay, now let's see the behavior. Let's see the result here. What do you see? We have got our version v1 list. Alright guys, now if I change this property X dash API dash version equals to 2, let's see the result. What do you see? We have got the list from version v2. Alright guys, so what exactly we are doing here is, our endpoint remains same, but in the request header we are passing a custom property called X API version with the version number 1, 2, 3 like that. Alright guys, now guys, for you, what you can try, you just try to replace this particular property with some other name, say ABC or XYZ. Let's see how your REST endpoint works. Alright guys, now guys, next approach is media type or accept header versioning. So guys, what exactly we do here is, we'll have our endpoint something like this, right? But we'll be using the accept header, request accept header, and we'll pass a value something like this, application/vnd.company.app dash, here is the version number plus the type JSON. So this is the result. I will be getting a JSON value. Alright guys, GitHub uses the request accept header versioning approach. Time for a demo. Okay guys, let's go back to the IDE. Guys, here we are talking about the approach 4. We are talking about the request accept header. Okay guys, so what I will do, I'll just copy this one. Let me paste this one down here, equals to, and here you see the version 1, and here is the, this time we are talking about request accept header v1. Alright guys, what I will do for v2, okay, I'll just copy this thing from here as it is. So this is our v2 request accept header v2, and I will use the same string here, produces equals to JSON value, and version is v2. Alright guys, person, okay, stop and restart our application. Let's go to Postman, http://localhost:8080/API/person. Guys, here we are talking about request accept header. So we have to go to headers tab. In the key section, we'll be choosing accept header. Accept value equals to this particular value, where we have the version 1, version number, and the result type JSON. Okay, let me just click on send button. What do you see? Here we have got the list from version 1 list, right guys? Now guys, if I go and change the version to v2, click on send button, what do you see? We have got the new list, version 2 v2 list, right guys? So basically what exactly is happening, our endpoints remain same here, but in the header step we are using something called request accept header. Okay, and here is the value. Alright guys, so here we are done with the request API versioning. Quick recap, we have seen 4 approaches. First one is the URI versioning. You will notice a difference in the endpoint itself, like here v1, v2. Twitter uses URI versioning approach. Next approach is request param. So in the endpoint we'll be passing a parameter version equals to 1, version equals to 2. Okay guys, Amazon uses request param versioning approach. The next one is versioning using custom request header, where we have passed a custom property called XAPI versioning equals to 1 or 2. Right? So Microsoft uses custom request header approach. Then the last approach which we discuss is versioning using accept header. Okay. So guys, here we have passed this particular value, the entire string with the version number, and GitHub uses the last approach. Alright guys. Okay, so here we are done with this video. Guys, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe and share the video. Thank you guys.